Hello, good morning and good evening, wherever you are. This is Kira from University of Southern California. Welcome audiences in Zoom, as well as our followers at the live streaming platforms of USC Graduate Education. It's wonderful to see all of you today here. This is the 132nd USC event, which are series webinars devoting to spread cutting-edge knowledge and insights in different industries and areas. Today, we're excited to present you a wonderful webinar about USC Leventhal School of Accounting. USC Leventhal is consistently ranked among the top accounting schools in the nation. Spanning more than 2 decades, the school's outstanding reputation for excellence is a tribute to its faculty, staff, students, and alumni. Featuring Dr. Will Holder and Professor Laura Smith, today's webinar will lead you to explore the amazing department and the popular graduate programs there. So welcome Dr. Will Holder, the Dean of the Leventhal School of Accounting, Alan Custon Dance Chair, Professor of Accounting, and welcome Professor Laura Smith, the Associate Dean of USC Leventhal Graduate Programs and the Professor of Clinical Accounting. And dear audiences, please know that we will have about 15 minutes Q&A section after the speech. We encourage you to actively engage in our event by asking questions and sharing insights. Feel free to comment and type your questions in the chat box. We'll try to get as many questions as we can at the end of speech. And kindly remind the room audiences that this webinar will be recorded and might be used as video material in the future. So please mute yourself to ensure a good event quality. Thanks for cooperation. Okay, now everyone, please join in welcoming Dr. Will Holder and Professor Laura Smith. Next, I will turn it over to Professor Smith. Thank you, Smith.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the warm welcome. Welcome to all of you from around the world. We are here today. We want to share some good information regarding our Master of Taxation, Business Taxation, and Master of Accounting programs. And before we start, I'd like to give an introduction to Dean Holder, who's with us today. And let me give a little background regarding Dean Holder's incredible experience. He is an expert on financial reporting and auditing. He was twice selected by the Accounting Today as one of the 100 most influential people in the accounting profession. Among Dean Holder's other awards are 2 from the American Institute of the Certified Public Accountants. First, the Gold Medal Award for Distinguished Service, which is the AICPA's highest honor, and the Distinguished Achievement in Accounting Education Award. He has also received several teaching awards at USC, which are voted upon by the students. Dean Holder is a former member of the board of directors of the AICPA in the United States, and he was a member of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board here in the United States. I'm very proud to work with him here at the USC Leventhal School of Accounting. And now, Dean Holder, I'll turn it over to you.
Professor Smith, thank you, and thanks to all of the USC folks. We're thrilled to welcome you here, and let me add my welcome on behalf of USC in general, and in particular, the Leventhal School of Accounting. As you were listening to Professor Smith, it occurred to me that we have our 2 graduate programs we're here to speak with you about tonight, the Master of Accounting and the Master of Business Tax, and also that there is a widespread shortage of accountants in the world today. There have been a number of articles in the press, the Wall Street Journal, Business Week, and so on, to that effect. So I think that our profession is ripe with opportunity for you. And it's not just within the profession of accounting, the professional service firms, but certainly it exists there. So we're proud of our alums, and among those alums, a number of CEOs and CFOs. I'll give some instances here in just a moment, but within the profession, the current global managing partner of Deloitte is one of our graduates. A former global managing partner of Ernst & Young is one of our graduates. But in addition to that, I don't want you to think that if you get an accounting degree, you're limited in any ways to, say, just a career in the accounting profession. That is certainly not the case. So as examples, former Leventhal graduates that have become CEOs of well-known organizations include, for example, Trader Joe's, a large retailer, a food retailer in the United States, the Los Angeles Dodgers, Warner Brothers, Korean Airlines, Toyota North America, and the list continues to go on. We also have a large number of chief financial officers that have left the practice in the profession and joined commercial enterprises. Among the CFOs that we include among Leventhal graduates are Merrill Lynch, Bloomberg, Amgen, Amazon, Ford Motor Company, SpaceX, and so that's a rather extensive list that goes on as well. We recently have recognized the rise of risk management in the commercial world. And I'm pleased to say I'm aware at least of 2 chief risk management officers that have Leventhal degrees. One is here at USC. The other one is the chief risk officer for East West Bank. And finally, the ability to succeed in the profession doesn't involve going to work for very large enterprises such as those that I'm mentioning, because you can become a professional service entrepreneur. We have a great many of our graduates that have started their own firms and absolutely flourished in expanding those and managing those. One, a close friend of mine, graduated some years ago and went to work for one of the large professional service firms, but then struck out on his own and now is the managing partner of a firm with 15 to 20 offices around the country. So those are some of the examples of people that have been very successful and taken their accounting degrees and done wonderful things with them over a broad range of commercial enterprises, not-for-profit organizations. And Professor Smith is certainly one of those. She introduced me with a way too generous introduction. So I'm going to return that favor. Lori has herself served, was one of our graduates, by the way, but also served as the chief financial officer of SEC Registrant and retired before going to work for us as a partner with Deloitte, involving considerable responsibilities. So with that, let me close by welcoming you once again, and I'll be around if you have questions for me at the end of this session. We're thrilled you're here, and we want you to feel welcome and free to ask any questions of us that you would like.
Thank you, Dean Holder. I'd like to walk through a few slides here, basically as a way to give an outline and highlight some of the things with regards to our programs, and then we'll open up for questions at the end of the presentation. USC Leventhal School of Accounting, we believe, brings quite an advantage for students that join us for their master's program. As it was mentioned at the beginning of our introductions, we are widely recognized in the top tier of accounting education worldwide. Consistently, we're ranked in the upper part of the top 10 in the United States. A few things that we do: our program is designed so that you will be eligible to take the CPA exam upon graduation. That's not to say that our program is teaching to the CPA exam itself. Our basic goals for the program is to really deepen your knowledge and build your professional skills. However, we want to make sure that you also have the appropriate credits and knowledge to sit for the CPA exam. We'll talk in a minute about some very exclusive career recruiting opportunities where we have a dedicated person for our master's students, and a very robust program to introduce not only different career options and opportunities, but to enable our students to engage with management and employers, both firms and companies. Both our Masters of Accounting, our MAC, and our Masters of Business Taxation, our MBT degrees, are both STEM certified. And another big advantage, I certainly believe, as being a Trojan myself, is the Trojan Network. We hear that phrase a lot. It truly does resonate for me, having been a graduate myself, and really is a worldwide network. We have a video clip here that I'd like to play. This is Trip, one of our students that graduated from our Masters of Accounting program about a year ago. So with that, let me play some comments from Trip.
The Trojan Network, in my words, is like, ooh, there's so many different words that I want to use. I think the Trojan Network is kind of like jet fuel. I was talking to this director. I met a director. He directed Boys in the Hood. And he was saying the Trojan Network is kind of like your golden ticket if you use it right. You know, and the alumni of the University of Southern California will help you to open doors for yourself to go wherever you want to go if you'll use it. And I think that's the most incredible thing. If you reach out and if you make an effort, Trojan alumni will move mountains for you to make sure that you get what you need so that you can have the life you want. And I think that's been incredible. The Trojan Network has been invaluable in a few different ways. I would say first, information. I talked to USC alumni for months before and leading up to recruiting, because I wanted to get an idea of what opportunities were out there for me career-wise and what each job was like, so I could really make the best decision for myself. They also helped in preparation. I had countless calls with alumni in the consulting industry to actually figure out what I needed to do to make myself the best possible applicant to get the job that I now have. They also have helped me with guidance. If you didn't know, USC alumni are pretty accomplished, and they have been a really great source of wisdom for me. When I tell people, hey, I go to USC, they say, oh, great, how can I help you? What do you want to talk about? And that has been incredible because it's opened so many doors for me to have conversations with CFOs and consultants and entrepreneurs and literally anyone that I could dream of having access to. I've had access to these amazing people all because of the Trojan Network. And that has really catapulted me in my career.
I can certainly speak to the Trojan Network from a variety of places as well. I am a School of Accounting graduate, and probably 10 years ago or so, my husband and I were on a cruise in the Mediterranean. And as the ship was departing from Greece, from Athens, we sat down with some other of the guests on the ship. And it turns out that they were also USC alums. My husband is an alum as well. And my husband and the gentleman were both part of the same Sigma Chi fraternity. So the next thing I knew throughout the cruise, whenever we would run into each other or see each other on the deck, there was always a good fight on, and the gentleman would run into the song for the Sigma Chi fraternity. Let me walk through briefly, if I may, a bit of a summary for our what I'll call the course plans or the outline of our curriculum. I'll start with our Master of Accounting degree. Both degrees are planned to be a one-year program on campus and full-time. They both require 30 units for graduation. So let me start with the Masters of Accounting. We have 12 units that are what I'll refer to as core or required courses for everyone, focusing really on financial reporting research, a systems and technologies course, financial statement analysis, and financial statement auditing. And then in our Masters of Accounting program, we actually have designed it so that there are 3 tracks: professional accountancy, data and analytics, and strategic finance. And so you are able to choose which track you would like to emphasize in, and thereby design electives and courses and coursework that fits best in that particular area of focus. Professional accountancy, think of that for career choices or places that you want to launch your career in a very general, good, solid financial reporting focus. Data and analytics track is going to be very similar, but with more emphasis in your learning with regards to analyzing information, presenting information, working with big data, which quite frankly is where the world is going, as we know, whether that is as a service provider, a consultant, or an auditor, or working inside the company and analyzing information particular for the company that you're working with. And then finally, our strategic finance track, which really focuses on merger and acquisition, finance type roles and responsibilities, and is a terrific marriage between the accounting and the finance worlds. One of the things that I am proud of and pleased with in our program for our Masters of Accounting is that many of the electives that you may be taking are alongside with the MBAs. So as you're thinking about the electives that you want to take for your program, we want to enable you to have some flexibility so that you, okay. So when we work individually with each one of our students, and we have certainly the requirements that we want to make sure that you're getting the right required courses and the deepening of your knowledge, but also have the flexibility to take electives that will fit best with what your designs are for career opportunities. The Master of Business Taxation, also a 30 unit degree program, has 15 units in the core or required courses, really focusing again on the research and theory, focus on data and analytics in the tax environment, cross-border transactions, partnerships, and taxation for corporations and shareholders, and then a basket of electives available for you as well. We don't have the tracks set up in the Masters of Business Taxation. However, we could say that there is particular focus available as you think through your electives. For example, are you thinking more along the lines of corporate or individual type taxations? One of the things that we have in our program is a beginning program called Summer Intensive. This is intended for students that join us that do not have an undergraduate degree or a minor in accounting. I'm going to play another video here. This is Ryan, another one of our alumni that graduated with us again about 2 years ago. And he's going to talk a little bit about this Summer Intensive program.
Summer Intensive is actually one of the reasons that I chose USC over some other programs that I was looking at, partially because as a non-accounting major, I wanted to have this opportunity to really immerse myself in accounting before I headed into the fall, because I knew a lot of other people would have a stronger foundation than I did at the start of the summer. My 3 main takeaways from Summer Intensive were the academic foundation in accounting that it provided me, the relationships that I built with my classmates, and then the opportunity that it gave me to remember how to study as somebody who took a little break between undergrad and coming into grad school.
So our Summer Intensive, as he was just explaining to us, is, think of it as a crash course in an undergraduate accounting technical knowledge. So it is a full-time 8-week program in the summer leading right up to the fall starting semester for the 1-year program. We cover intermediate accounting, advanced auditing, and taxation. And we purposefully choose the components of those courses that we believe are most important for this group of students to be ready to start classes in the fall with their fellow students who do have an undergraduate degree in accounting. And we also plan some good social activities and really work hard to make sure that our summer students are going to be a success through the summer. It's one of the things that I think makes our program unique, because it really does allow us to have a very cross mix of all kinds of students coming into the master's program, not just students that have an accounting undergraduate degree. Let me give a quick snapshot of our class for 2024. So just to give you a flavor of what our program looks like. This is the group of students that started with us at the end of August and will graduate this coming in May. And as you can see, a GPA average, the GMAT, TOEFL, different statistics here around our student population. This is about consistent with where we are over the last few years as well. If I look at the bottom line there, our class is represented by 51 different undergraduate universities, not only in the US, but worldwide. And 84% of our students attended an undergraduate program other than at USC. So we do have a wonderful group of students, not only continuing and being a double Trojan from a standpoint of getting their undergraduate and their graduate degree at USC, but certainly from lots of universities around the world. And that final statistic on the bottom right, 66% of our class this year does not have the undergraduate degree in accounting. Really a powerful message to say that joining us from a different profile works really well. And we find that our stakeholders, for example, the employers that come to USC to recruit and hire our students, enthusiastically embrace coming to the table with not necessarily the undergraduate degree in accounting. They really are focused on appreciating the master's degree, but having the wider range of experience is very enthusiastically embraced as well. I mentioned our career services, and career services in our mind is how we are working with our students during the course of the year with us to seek and gain employment for when they graduate. I mentioned our program is only a one-year program, and I'll tell you, it does go by pretty quickly. We start our recruiting or our career services efforts with all of our students the very first week of classes. And we're focused on engaging different employers, both the firms and companies. So the CPA firms, the big four, both audit, taxation, advisory, and consulting, as well as different companies, not-for-profit, governmental entities. So we run a lot of career information sessions. We host a very robust Meet the Firms. Think of that as a very in-person, very large event where the firms have all different representatives there. And you as a student have the opportunity to basically go table to table and get to know different professionals from the different companies and firms. We coordinate firm socials and coffee chats and help all of our students to really strengthen their networking skills. We have a dedicated resource that works specifically with our accounting students in this area of career services and coordinates and helps you with your resumes, performs mock interviews with you so you can get practice working towards those interviews with the firms, coaching, cover letter guidance, really a lot of things that are just very one-on-one specific for you, because we want to do everything we can to support you as you are launching your career. I have one last video clip here. This is Nicole. She also graduated with us 2 years ago, And she's going to talk a little bit about her experience with our career services team.
My name is Nicole Spajo. I'm from Simi Valley, California. Recently, I graduated from the MAC program, and next year I'll be working in downtown LA. I thought the USC Leventhal recruitment events were a blast last year. It was a wonderful opportunity to get to speak to everyone from different firms and different backgrounds and just kind of get my questions answered. The recruitment events themselves are very fast-paced. At times, there's different booths to where you can introduce yourself and have a moment to get a one-on-one with each professional. And a lot of the times it's not just accounting firms that you're used to knowing, it's places like Snapchat or any governmental job that you could potentially be interested in. It's a moment to get to know that individual and communicate to them what their profession is and whether or not you are interested in it at all.
And as I mentioned, our career services work with you does start as soon as actually before the semester begins, because the recruiting efforts with all the firms and companies is beginning the very first week of classes. That Meet the Firms that I'm referring to is generally the first Friday of the semester. Thinking about our 3-year average for job placement, our 3-year average for domestic students, those here in the US, is 100%. International students, meaning those that need a company or a firm to sponsor their visa to stay in the country, is 83%. And we continue to do everything we can to support the international students by looking for even more employers that are open to and ready to support the visa process, because obviously that's an important component in starting your career here in the United States. Some additional USC Leventhal programs. I know we're talking about our full-time programs, the Masters of Accounting and Masters of Business Taxation, but I want to take just a moment and mention 3 other programs in case you may have interest or know of someone else who may have interest. We do have an undergraduate degree in accounting, as well as a Master's of Business Taxation for working professionals. This particular, the Working Professionals program, is a part-time online program. And generally, the students taking the Working Professional program are with us for about 3 years, again, because they're taking 1 or 2 classes in a semester while working full-time. It's flexible in that it is predominantly online. You are able and invited to come to campus if you would like in this program. However, we have a lot of students that are around the country or perhaps even globally that come in via Zoom for classes. And then finally, we have a business taxation certificate. And this is not a full degree, but instead is a 4-course program that you are participating in those 4 core courses with the full Masters of Taxation degree program students. It's intended for those people that are not they're not interested in all of the electives and things, but are really looking for the core learning, and they would leave us with a certificate instead of a diploma. If you have questions or want more information on any of these programs, we'd be happy to help you, or soon I'll share with you an email address and you can reach out to us that way. So what about applying to our program? Let me talk first about what I'll call course prerequisites. If you are starting with us in the summer, we would like for you to have an introductory accounting course, either a micro or a macroeconomics class and a statistics class. Think of that as the very minimum background to join us in the summer. Remember then, if you're joining us for the summer, you would be with us for that intensive summer program, and that's where we will bring you up to the same level playing field, if you will, because we'll be covering intermediate accounting 1 and 2, managerial cost accounting, tax, and we also cover advanced accounting in the summer intensive. We would like and ask for advanced accounting or auditing as a recommendation, but not necessarily required if you're going to join us in the fall. So basically the fall starts Remember, they generally will have an undergraduate degree in accounting, or at least a minor in accounting, and have already that basic level of accounting information. Our summer starts start with a very, very bare minimum, and we build on that throughout the course of the summer. So then coming along with applying to our program, what are we asking you to include with your application? We would love to see a current resume from you, including if you have a confirmed future internship. So I realize that resumes are generally what you have accomplished in the past, but if you have an internship that you are looking forward to doing, we would love to know about that as well. We ask for a personal statement from you and a video introduction. We want to be able to get to know you as a person. And then also transcripts. One of the helpful hints I'll add about transcripts, the university will ultimately require you to send, or have your undergraduate institution officially send, the transcripts to the university. But if you are able to upload your official transcripts with your application, that gives us a preview, obviously, to review those transcripts ahead of time, and really speeds along the admission process. If you're an international student, the university does require a TOEFL, and then University and Leventhal is also looking for a GMAT score. However, we will waive the GMAT testing if you have a cumulative GPA of 3.2 or higher. We do not require letters of recommendation. I know some universities do, but we do not. You're welcome to include them if you would like, but we do not require them. Once we receive all your application information, we will review that, and then you would hear back from us. We do an in-person, or I'll call it on Zoom, interview as well. Thinking about the application deadline for domestic students, whether you're a summer start or a fall start. Oh, and I see I have a mistake in my slide here. The second bullet point should be for international students. So our international students, we ask that you file your application with us by January 15. The earlier date is because we want to make sure that we're able to make those admission decisions, and also in time for you to work through the visa scenario to come to the United States for starting with us either in the summer or in the fall. Let me talk a little bit about financing your master's degree. Over 75% of our students receive Leventhal School of Accounting scholarships. They range somewhere between $10,000 and $35,000 per recipient. And there's also some scholarships that are available from outside organizations, either alumni clubs or professional organizations. USC also has some financial aid programs, and there are federal loans available, although I do want to say that those federal loans are for US citizens and not for international students. That's part of the US federal guidelines. So let me open up now for Q&A. And before we do that, I'll direct you to two things here on this last slide. If you have questions that we either aren't able to cover here in this webinar, feel free to email Kathy Cowan. Her email is there at chc@marshall.usc.edu. You can also send an email to Leventhal Grad Admissions at marshall.usc.edu, and that email box, while it sounds like a generic email box, is a good central place, because then, depending upon the nature of the question, we can then easily forward that email to the right person to help you, whether that would be Kathy, myself. Perhaps you have other particular questions, and we just want to make sure that we get you connected with the right person to help you with your questions. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to talk about something about our program, or if you would like for us to talk with you about your undergraduate work to help determine what program, whether it's a summer start or a fall start, or even if you'd like to talk a little bit more about those tracks that I referred to for the Masters of Accounting. And lastly, you'll see on the slide here, there's a QR code down at the bottom left. If you are able to, you can scan in on that QR code and it should take you to a link. You can fill out your name and email information and we can reach back to you that way as well. So with that, I'm going to leave the screen up here for just a few minutes so you have a chance to take that information down if you'd like, but I would be very happy, Dean Holder and I, to answer questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dean Holder and Professor Smith. Thanks so much for giving this excellent presentation. I'm sure our audiences now have a better understanding and a whole clear picture about USC Leventhal School of Accounting and our outstanding graduate programs. Okay, everyone, next will be our Q&A part. And we already got some questions, both from Zoom and live streaming platforms. Let's take the Zoom question first. This question is from Qing Li. The question is, thank you, Professor. Can students take CPA test during the master study? Is there any difference on taking CPA in State A or New York State? Thank you.
I'm sorry, Kira, I didn't quite hear it. So if you could just repeat for me one more time.
The question is, can our student take the CPA test during the master study? And is there any difference on taking CPA in California or New York?
Thank you very much for the question. So most of our students start studying for the CPA exam, specifically with a CPA review program, in their second semester. And I will share with you why that is. And that is, if you are also going through recruiting, there's so much effort connecting you with the firms and the employers that suddenly you run out of time. And so while that process is happening in the fall, by the time we come into the spring semester, that's when students are really focusing now on the CPA exam. You are eligible to sit for the CPA exam in any state that you would like to. Different states have minor different requirements. So one of the things that I would suggest is if you're planning to take the CPA exam in California, then that's fine because we're all very focused on California. If you're looking to take the CPA exam in a different state, not so much for the exam itself, but to get certified as a CPA in that state, make sure that you're talking to us and with our student advisor, academic advisor, because certain states, for example, Texas, has a slightly different requirement on some of the required classes. And we want to make sure that you're prepared as you're choosing your classes to take. And so the short answer to the question is yes, you can sit for the exam or take that CPA exam in whichever state you would like. The CPA exam itself is the same across the United States. It's the licensing requirements to ultimately become a CPA that's different state by state.
Okay, thank you, Professor. I also got a CPA question from the live streaming platform. The question is, can CPA be recognized in other countries like China?
My understanding is that it is recognized, likely in a different way. So for example, if I am a certified or licensed in China, it's based on the Chinese requirements, right? The China requirements. Similarly, in the UK, the United Kingdom, or Canada, the CPA, the Certified Public Accountant licensing in the United States, is focused on United States generally accepted accounting principles and United States tax concepts. What we understand and hear from our alumni and from our employers, stakeholders that are hiring our graduates, is that if I'm a certified public accountant in California, that means I've demonstrated those skills and that knowledge from a United States basis. If I'm working and go back to a different country, that's very beneficial because now I may be working with both, for example, the Chinese and the United States regulations and helping those companies or those firms that are global in nature.
Okay, thank you. As I know, the CPA test is one of the hardest exam in China, actually. And would you mind to share the percentage that our students passed the CPA after graduation?
Oh, very good question. And unfortunately, I don't have that statistic because we don't collect that from our students. I know when the students are passing parts of the exam when they're still in the university, because they oftentimes come and we have a big celebration. But I do not know in particular what the passing rate is. In the United States, the CPA exam is in pieces, so you can take one piece at a time. I'm not sure how it is in China. Dean Holder, do you have any other insights on the CPA exam?
Well, it's as far as the uniform CPA exam in the United States, I would urge the listeners here not to make that a primary focus. It is, of course, exceptionally important that when you finish your educational experience, receive your master's degree, that you be eligible to sit for the CPA exam. But we're being concerned about its relative difficulty is not something I would encourage you to fret about, because I know our graduates don't have great problems passing the CPA exam, or we would certainly know about it. And we do hear anecdotally that they are quite successful. At one time, I was the chair of the board of examiners that writes the uniform CPA exam, and the computerization of it pretty well assures that not everyone's going to get the same examination depending on when you take it. There are testing windows that almost ensure you're going to get a different exam than other people will, even though they're taking it in close timing proximity. But again, I would encourage you to focus on gaining the knowledge and particularly the skills, those skills in research, those skills in critical thinking, those skills in communication, both oral and written, that we really stress in our program, because those are enduring. And very few, if any, of those skills that I just listed are tested on the CPA exam. The CPA exam remains primarily a test of knowledge. And you certainly get that in our curriculum, but it's only a relatively, well, I don't want to say a small part, but there are many other attributes of your educational experience that extend beyond mere a command of knowledge focus. And I think that's probably what Professor Smith was alluding to earlier, in that we don't focus on preparing students to pass the CPA exam. The education we're trying to provide to folks is designed to be enduring and to contribute to your success throughout your career.
Thank you so much, Dean, and thank you so much, Professor. Okay, let's move on to next question. The question from the same audience named Ching Li. If students submit a video, will they be asked for an interview?
If they miss a video?
If the student submits the video, will they be asked for an interview?
Yes, we do ask all of our students applying to provide us with a video, a 1 or 2 minute interview, excuse me, a 1 or 2 minute video that just tells us a little bit about yourself. And then we follow up with an actual interview where we're able to talk with you together. It also lets us really get to know you a little bit more as a person, and also for you to ask us questions as well. So the interview is in person, usually over Zoom, unless you want to come to campus.
Thank you, Professor. And the next question is, would you mind to emphasize the deadline for domestic students and international students as well?
Yes, let me back up on that slide. The domestic students, if you are starting with us in the summer, the application deadline is April 15. If you would be starting with us in the fall, then the application deadline is June 1st. And for international students, this is where I have a mistake on my slide. For international students, the deadline for applications is January 15.
Thank you, Professor. And next question is from the audience named Joanne. In China, the audit firm can be limited liability or partnership. How about in US? If I want to be a partner in a US audit firm, must I take the CPA?
In the United States, for the firms, the accounting firms, are partnerships, generally speaking. Different firms have different structures. If you are with the auditing and tax focused part of the firm, then generally you have to be a CPA. If you're in the advisory and consulting side, you do not have to be a CPA to be in all cases here referring as a partner, or excuse me, as a to be a partner with the firm.
If I might, if you take the time and make the effort to get a graduate degree in accounting from a school like USC, I would strongly advise you to go ahead and sit for the exam, pass it successfully, because it's a tremendous credential. Even if your focus later might turn to consulting, in which case you wouldn't necessarily need that license, but the credential is enduring.
Okay, thank you, Dean and Professor. As next question is about the technology and AI software. We got a discussion on this both from the Zoom and the live stream platform. So, you know, as a traditional profession with application of many software and AI, while accountant be replaced by AI and while the job demand become less and less. And also the audiences would like to know, well, the skill I learned can stay competitive in the future. Thank you.
Very good. Well, certainly technology in general, in my view, has impacted the profession over and over again. The technology, the computers being able to do more and more things for us, the AI, it allows we accountants, those with the really strong analytical skills and the technical skills, in my view, to spend less time with the details. So I don't have to manually add up all the numbers and make sure that they add up correctly. I can spend more time now understanding the company's business, understanding how that creates implications to the financial reporting. I hear debates back and forth. Is that going to limit, somehow reduce the need for accountants, people in our profession? In my opinion, especially right now, there is a shortage and viewed to be anticipated a shortage of professionals in our profession. So I think it'll be a while before we would see a dramatic impact from that perspective. I believe that what we are likely to see is, less effort in that detail effort, whether it's from an auditing, accounting, financial reporting, or a taxation, because the machines can do that now, where we would then have what I think is the more enjoyable or the more fun perspective of analyzing, creating value from a standpoint of understanding what's happening with the business and how, for example, what would be a beneficial tax treatment or a beneficial structure for a tax perspective.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, so next question is from the audience named Qing Liu. My undergraduate major is economics. I have studied accounting, finance, statistics. Am I eligible to apply for fall start or I need to apply the summer intensive program?
Very good question. And I would love to have a generic answer, but I do not. What I'm going to specifically ask you is reach out to us. Please use the email address and let's connect together and so that we can have a good understanding of what those courses are. And then we can help you to decide whether we believe you should be with us for the summer or whether you should be able to join us just in the fall. Really, our goal is to help you to be the most successful. And that's why we would want to look very particularly at your background and your education experience.
Thank you, Professor. The following question is, what's the start date of our summer intensive program?
So summer starts about June 15 and finishes up about August 8 or 10. And then the fall semester starts about August 21. So there's about a 2-week window between the two.
Okay. Actually, we also got one question from live streaming platform. This is a prospective student from finance, and he or she is really interested in our program. And he or she will get the bachelor degree in June next year. I assume he or she belongs to the limited accounting background and needs to take the summer intensive. The question is, if so, he or she will have a long gap before the program started. You know, in China, most of the students will get their bachelor degree in June. So would you mind to give some suggestion on this? Thank you.
Certainly. And we do have this situation common. What we do, again, is reach out and talk to us individually, and we will make arrangements. For example, this last summer, we had 2 students from China that were part of our summer program, and they attended the first couple of weeks on Zoom, and then they came to the US and joined us live for the rest of the summer. So we were able to work it out because we understand that the undergraduate universities may not be finishing up soon enough for you to join us with that June 15 deadline.
Thank you.
And again, please reach out and let us, I guess I'm going to say almost customize things for you. It's certainly one of the benefits of having a relatively smaller program. Yes, we may have 100, 120 students. We're inside the great big university called USC, which is wonderful, but with our very private, respectful relationship that we can have with you as an individual student, we want to do what we can to help you to be successful.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, the next question is from Zoom, from the audience named AC. Thank you, Professor, for great introduction. How do you see a student study BA accounting in US and prepare CPA and work, or a student like some of us with a non-accounting BA and get accounting master in top school in US and prepare CPA and work? The audience is concerned that about 1 year master's program is a little bit short and limited course to prepare for the CPA test and career. Thank you.
Very
Let
good.
me dive in on that one, Lori, if I may.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I can tell the individual that when it was first proposed to have a summer intensive and a 1-year Master of Accounting degree, I too had some skepticism about whether that's going to be enough. My skepticism has been completely relieved over the years because I see students come to us that are able to be successful in getting licensed, but also in their careers. And you see these firms come in and they will make offers to the students in our program before you've had a single grade recorded. Those offers will come out in the fall, and you still haven't received any grades yet from USC. So they're relying on the quality of the students that we admit, and secondly, the quality, I think, of the education they're expected to receive. But I can assure you that students are very, very successful with the 1-year degree, even if they don't have an undergraduate degree in accounting. And the key is that summer intensive. It is intensive, but it's also a good time to get to know each other and to become woven into the fabric of USC. The social events that were alluded to earlier are a big part of that. But it is an intense learning experience, and history indicates very clearly it's sufficient to prepare you to begin your career.
Thank you, Dean Holder. Thank you so much. Okay, the next question is from Betty Lin. Does the data analytics track involve heavy coding skill? Does it help to get into tech technology position?
The data and analysis track is not going to be heavily involved in coding. There is some coding courses that we want you to get experience with. Instead, the data analysis track is very much focused on how to interpret data that comes out of a data analysis, how to design what you would like the data analysis to generate. So it's not so much coding in different coding languages as it is the judgment and the analysis perspective. Now, I will tell you that some of our students want to take much more coding specific courses. That's where their interest lies. And so we would work with them so that their basket of electives has more coding in depth, but it's not originally part of our design.
Okay, thank you, Professor. The following question from live streaming also regards to the data analytics track. The question is, if I choose the data and analytics track in MACC, am I allowed to take some elective course from Viterbi School?
You may be able to do that, yes. We need to look at what those courses, which one it is. Again, because we want you to be successful, and we also want to make sure that you have the coursework you need to qualify for the CPA exam.
Okay, thank you. And next question from Zoom. In China, after we get China CPA, if we want to take ACCA, we can less some ACCA tests. How about US CPA?
So with the US CPA, you have the educational requirement, the exam requirement, and then a working requirement. Usually the working requirement is a year or two of working in a environment with a certified public accountant.
Next question is from Zoom Sun. Is it possible for students to extend the duration of program from 1 year to 2 years if they are looking forward to study in 2 tracks, for example, data analytics and strategic finance?
That's a very good question. I will tell you that this year we have one student who has designed his schedule so that he will finish the 1 year with all 3 tracks. So he's actually blended it is able to blend the electives, because some electives qualify and fit for multiple tracks. So instead of extending the time, he's just strategically planned his electives so that he will finish his degree with basically inside all 3 tracks. If a student wanted to stay with us for 2 years and take more electives, certainly that would be acceptable. We've just designed the program intended to be a single year. I know of a couple of students as well. I'll just share some other examples. You mentioned Viterbi, a student a couple of years ago that finished up work with Viterbi and then joined us for the 1-year Masters of Accounting, and that's how that person put the 2 together. You could do that, I suppose, the opposite way and start with us and then finish up with Viterbi.
Okay, thank you, Professor. And next question is the interview mandatory for all students? I guess the answer is yes.
Oh, it sounds to me like we've got some people that might be either afraid to do the interview. I'm not sure. We're not scary,
Okay.
I promise.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Yes.
Okay, the last question from Zoom is from Jeff. I saw the average admit students for your program is TOEFL 107. I only got 90. Can I apply?
Yes, you can. The university has, I did show what our averages are. The university has a minimum threshold, but 90, I believe, is fine to apply. So please do apply.
Okay, thank you. And Professor, you just mentioned the average GPA and TOEFL. How about the minimum GRE requirement?
So I do not have that number with me. We use the GRE as another data point, and for example, that's one reason why we waive it if you have a GPA of 3.2 or above. So you don't have to take the GRE if you have the higher GPA.
Okay. The next question is from Qing Liu. As it's a one-year program, can students have any chance for internships such as work at any of the Big Four accounting firms?
That's a very good question. The students who are taking those internships sometimes are taking them before they start our program, but our program is not designed to carve out time during that 1 year to take an internship.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move to the live streaming platforms. Okay, the next question from live streaming platforms in terms of our 8-day trip over spring break. And the audience would like to know more details about this, like opportunities, cost, location, and so on. Would you mind to elaborate? Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for asking the question. We have a course that is a global course. This coming year, so for the class of 25, which is where many of you may be applying, I don't know exactly what countries we will be going to, but this coming year, during the spring break, that class will travel to Tokyo and to Singapore, I believe. And so we take the spring break week and we split between those two cities and visit companies and other business organizations in those two countries. There is an additional fee to take that class because of the travel costs, but I share with you that it is well subsidized by USC. So economically, it's a very fair fee for the extra cost of travel.
Thank you. The following question is this mandatory for all students in the courses or they need to apply? How about the spaces?
For the global course?
Yes.
Okay, it is not. So the global course I'm referring to is an elective. So it's only if you would like to take that particular course. It meets before traveling abroad to learn more about the culture and the business environment in the countries where you would be visiting, and then you travel during the spring break. But it is an elective course. It is not required.
Okay, Professor. Thank you. The next question is from your slides, international students in 2024 is 27%. Would you mind to give a bit breakdown like Asia, especially China, Europe, or others? Thank you.
Thank you. I would say the largest percentage is China, Taiwan, and the Asia countries. I don't have the actual percentage breakdowns. We do have a number of students that are coming to us from Africa, India. We have a Canadian, 2 people this year from Mexico, and 2 or 3 from Australia.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor. And next question is how many applications you receive every year and the admitted percentage in 2023 for the MS Master of Accounting?
Very good. Our admitting rate is at about 30%. And so of all the applications that we receive, we accept and admit about 30%.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, this question is about the PhD. What resources can students have to better prepare for their applying for a PhD in accounting?
Oh, very good. Dean Holder, would you like to talk a little bit about our PhD?
Sure. We do have a doctoral program, and we've been exceptionally successful in placing our graduates. It is a relatively small program. It takes about 5 years. Some try to make it in 4. The difference is when you enroll in the doctoral program, you do your work in the realm of accounting, but what you're focusing on is a variety of research methodologies and how accounting questions can be resolved by academic research. There are several fields of that research to give you a flavor for the different methodological approaches. For example, they're behavioralists. We have a couple on our faculty of our tenured faculty that focus on how experts make decisions. What are the factors that they consider? What weight is given certain types of evidence in arriving at their decision? In addition to that, you have empiricists. Those are folks that might look at literally hundreds or thousands of SEC filings to determine what the effect, for example, of a change in accounting requirements might imply for security prices. There's a lot of work that goes into how our capital markets work and what seems to be the most relevant information to financial information users, the investors, creditors, others that participate in our capital markets. Finally, there's a lot of research that looks at how companies are managed and how resources are deployed within a company, the managerial accounting issues, which techniques seem to be successful, which ones don't seem to work as well. But that's the focus of the doctoral program. It's not on just getting a command of the technical aspects of accounting, although the more institutional knowledge you have, obviously, the better.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you so much for your comments. Okay, because of the limited time, our webinar has already lost more than 1 hour. I will choose the last 2 questions from the live streaming. Thank you, audiences. The first one is, in terms of accounting career development, besides the necessary knowledge reserve, what other skills should be possessed? Would you mind to suggest? Thank you.
Dean Holder, would you like to address other skills for keeping current with the accounting profession?
Well, I mentioned several in an earlier answer, but and you were alluding, or you gave a great answer with respect to the impact of technology. The impact of technology on accounting, like most other learned professions, is going to be profound in the future. That certainly extends to artificial intelligence. I guess I would say that if you find yourself in a position that can be replicated in routine, you should try to move up on the value chain, because those kinds of positions are going to be performed by machines and by electronic capabilities in the future. Always try to stay on that frontier of capability where human judgment, human evaluations are necessary. The AI is just in its infancy and what it's likely to become. But one of the things we teach you in the accounting curriculum is the notion of professional skepticism, that you want to be persuaded by evidence that a certain conclusion is warranted or appropriate. I would look at the AI results with professional skepticism, because it's possible for that technology, as marvelous as it is, to have shortcomings. And I think that's going to be an enduring attribute of even the most sophisticated of AI operations.
Okay, thank you so much, Dean Holder. Very useful comments and suggestion. Okay, the last question is, many people choose to major in accounting as beginning, engage in accountant, but they do not want to be only accountant. Can Dean and Professor share their career advancement after accountant? Thank you.
Certainly. Dean Holder, would you like to share your background with a little bit more detail?
Well, when I marched through in my introductory remarks a list of individuals that had departed from the relatively narrow confines of the accounting profession to become CEOs and CFOs in just a wide range of industries. The implicit in that, I think, is that those skills and the knowledge, but particularly the skills that you develop in a rigorous accounting program, those of critical analysis, those of professional skepticism. You may hear a very earnest story. You may hear a very earnest and deeply believed recommendation, but the ability to understand what that recommendation is based on, what are the empirics, what are the bases of support for the judgments that you're hearing, all of those are just exceptionally valuable, I think, in a wide range of endeavors in the business community, but even broader than that, in not-for-profit organizations, in government positions. It helps you learn to think and think critically, and realize where information may be of greater value to gather, or where circumstances indicate that the recommendation you're receiving from subordinates or from colleagues is sufficiently supported. But always exhibit that professional skepticism. That doesn't mean you don't trust people. It doesn't mean you think people are misleading you. It just means you want to be persuaded and convinced in an objective fashion by impartial evidence. As you learn those attributes and those skills and develop them, you develop your communication skills, you develop your reasoning capabilities. All of those translate and transfer to an enormous range of beneficial applications completely outside of accounting. But the accounting knowledge is still of importance.
Thank you so much, Dean.
I'll add just a couple of thoughts very quickly. Some examples I think about where even some of our recent graduates have taken different pathways, received their Masters of Accounting, started with the firms. One of the firms got their 2 or 3 years, 4 years worth of experience. One lady is now working with the FBI in a global terrorism investigation role. Very different than a traditional accounting perspective, but she's looking at terrorism from a standpoint of financial, what would be the word she would describe? Holding companies hostage financially by crafting into their internet and things like that. So a very different, unique pathway. My own experience, while it's been predominantly always focused in financial reporting, when I was working with a public company, I was very involved in the operations. So working with the marketing people and the sales people and the product development teams to understand what was happening with the company and then be able to look at it through that financial reporting lens, which I believe helped our company to be really well prepared to launch whatever the new initiative was.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor and Dean. And in a word, major in our major will have a bright future. Okay, my apologies. And one last question from Zoom. I think this is very important. The audiences would like to know if our Dean and Professor Smith teach any classes. Would you mind to share the course code?
Very fine. I teach 2 different courses in our master's program. One is a required course for our Master's of Accounting. It's ACCT 585. That's part of the fall semester. And it's the Professional Responsibilities and Research class. And then in the spring semester, I teach Auditing Fraud, which is ACCT 462. That class is simulating as if we are all inside the classroom, part of an audit team. We are auditing a company. We are evaluating fraud risks. And then the simulation continues that we find out there has been a fraud within the company. And now how do we deal with that from an audit perspective? We have guests that join us, and they are from a company and they pretend like they're the company that had the fraud. So it's a really interesting class to give us hands-on experience for how to deal with fraud in an audit.
How about Dean
And
Holder?
Dean Holder, I will tell you, he's so busy being a dean that
Yeah,
Yes, of
sadly,
course.
for me at least, and I am at the point that I haven't taught much. I love that 585 class, though. I used to teach that, and that was hands down my favorite course. To give you a flavor, there are a lot of rules out there in financial accounting and reporting. If a transaction has these attributes, here is how it must be accounted for. And when you look at and I understand we don't see physical representations of this anymore, but if you look at the thickness of the book, if you look at how exhaustive that body of knowledge is, you would think every conceivable question that's ever been propounded has to be answered somewhere in there. That's not true, because as a former standard setter, we write standards of accounting financial reporting that we are trying to solve a particular problem. Well, the march of finance, the march of progress, makes transactions that come after those standards are issued to be different in some respect. And so tremendous professional judgment is really required in deciding how to deal with the ambiguity that is inherent in the professional standards, the ambiguity that is inherent in the transactions that you are evaluating, and in then fashioning appropriate and acceptable accounting responses to what had just took place in the real world. Our holy grail, I think, is fair to say, is representational faithfulness, is the manner in which we're accounting for this on paper, if you will, faithful to the economics of what just transpired in the real world. Are we better off? Are we worse off? By how much? And those are very challenging problems to resolve. And that's what you get a real taste of. And Professor Smith teaches it just impeccably in the curriculum that you will take, and you will take that course.
Okay, thank you so much, Dean, and thank you so much, Professor. Till now, we already have over 4,000 viewers from the live streaming platforms. Okay, thanks so much, professors. Thanks for joining us today and sharing so much useful and detailed information. And is there anything else you would like to add before we conclude? Maybe give some words or suggestions to our audiences and potential applicants. Thank you so much.
Well,
if you have questions, I'm sorry.
No, please, Dean Holder.
If you have questions, be sure and get them to us. You were given the information for Kathy Cowan earlier. It's pretty easy to track me down, and I know that Professor Smith will be happy to respond to your questions that you might have. We want you to make an informed decision and one that is in your best interest. So thank you for attending tonight, and I hope we see you in our classrooms here sometime soon.
Thank you.
And I'll close by saying I really appreciate this opportunity to reach out and connect with all of you. I too extend a very honest and genuine invitation to reach out to us with questions or something that you may have that we can help you with. I echo Dean Holder's comments that most important to me is, and for us, is that each student is attaining what they want, where they want to go, that knowledge and that strength. I think the profession is wide open, partly because there's a shortage of people in this profession, and partly because the world is just getting to be a place where the knowledge and the judgment that you will develop is going to carry you a very long way in your profession, whichever direction you go in your career. So quite frankly, I am really excited for where each of you are right now. I remember as I was joining the university and looking forward to starting my career, it's a very exciting time, and I have that enthusiasm for each one of you now.